They decided to return to Gomorrah. It was different this time anyway, because the 4x4 would enable them to drive right through the ancient city, and they could watch Peter's face as he saw it for the first time. Einar really enjoyed driving this off-roader. Being an Icelander, it certainly wasn't the first time he'd been in rough terrain. Eventually, they disembarked, and Simon held the camera as Einar and Peter disappeared into a cul-de-sac. Simon had just purchased a new high-definition camera, and he couldn't stop filming. At every visit, he saw something new. Einar and Peter suddenly went out of sight. Simon found a new source of brimstone balls, and he filmed with one hand whilst digging them up with the other. They were everywhere.
In our previous film, we took these mysterious balls of brimstone to the laboratories to be tested, and we were all amazed with the results.
An X-ray fluorescent technician was to supervise an analysis of the brimstone samples. In order to provide a sample good enough for the precision of the X-ray fluorescent spectrometer to read, Andy had to be very thorough in his preparation. In short, Simon's brimstone samples were to be analyzed. Then the same tests would be conducted on sulphur flowers that had been chemically refined by laboratory methods. He panned across the strange, ghostly city and noticed the silence again. Not even birds were singing. Einar and Peter eventually returned, excited by the hundreds of brimstone, death balls, which they had collected. They are the ultimate proof that God destroyed these evil cities, just as the Bible describes in Genesis 19, verse 24. Then the Lord rained down burning sulphur on Sodom and Gomorrah.
But if you're finding it actually sort of embedded in walls and things like that,
to cut them out with the walls.
right? No,
You might have to spend an hour cutting out
Right.
one out of actual rock where it was just so embedded in the rock because you couldn't actually pull it out.
right,
I've got a prize specimen at home. It's about the size of my fist,
right,
and I cut it right out the rock, and I stood in the rock, left it in there, where it's come down,
right,
and embedded itself.
right.
Mate,
No, I haven't seen anything like that.
They decided to drive further into the dead city, past the strange shapes and walls. All at once, the truck came to the end of the road they were on, and Einar suggested they should take a closer look at a building they had visited in the first film. Whilst climbing over it, they noticed that one of the ceilings had caved in. All suddenly realized that it was not a good idea to climb over hollow, crumbling structures. So much for the excitement of the moment. Nearby was a strange-looking building with a pointed roof, surrounded by tons of hard ash. They estimated the height at 50 feet or more, and Peter wanted to climb it. Simon watched his progress and fell to wondering what it had originally looked like. The white ashen remains stood out clearly against the backdrop of brown mountains and hills. Everyone who has been here has been affected by this strange, silent city, and the mind imagines the people and the things they did to so offend God. Genesis 13, verse 13. Now the men of Sodom were wicked and sinning greatly against the Lord. The Jewish Talmud, which contains much ancient history, has many stories concerning the evil in Sodom. One of Lot's daughters was condemned to death by burning for feeding a starving man, though she later escaped to Zoar. Another girl was covered in honey and stung to death by bees for helping a stranger. There are many more tales like that. The merry band decided to revisit Sodom.